Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Santa Claus is only 135 years old, but before Santa Claus was Father Christmas, and all nations of the world came to America and brought their traditions with them. And when they brought these traditions, out of those traditions, Santa Claus was born and very quickly moved to the North Pole. But before that time, before the Europeans came to America, there were many nations of people already here. And this is their story, the first Christmas in Missouri. There was a small rabbit who had hopped underneath an old scrub oak, and he was panting desperately, for he had been chased all night long by a fox. After taking a couple of deep breaths, he began hopping once again, and he hopped all the way up to a very high rise overlooking the Missouri River. And as he crested that hill, he saw a bright, shining star in the east. The fox, following the rabbit's footsteps, also made his way to the crest of that hill. And when he saw the bright star, he sat down beside the rabbit. An old muskrat, a beaver, and an otter were swimming in the Missouri River that night. And as their heads popped above the waterline, they too saw that bright star and made their way to the top of that rise and sat in a semicircle with the other animals: a muskrat, a raccoon, an elk, a mother deer and its fawn, a grizzly bear, a gray wolf. All made their way to the top of that rise, and as they saw the star, they too took their place in the circle, watching the star. There was a hunter that night who was out hunting. He had been hunting for many days, for times had been lean in his lodge. And he saw the tracks and the trail of all of the animals in front of him. And he thought to himself, there will be food in my lodge come tomorrow. And he made his way following those tracks. And as he crested the hill, he saw that old shaggy buffalo. He took his arrow and placed it in his bow. And just as he was ready to let the arrow fly, he too noticed that bright star. And he went over and took his place beside the buffalo. There were 3 old geese swimming on the river that night. And they began to take flight and circled overhead of the animals and made their way to that star. For everyone knows that the geese are the wisest of all the birds. The star was so bright, it had awakened all of the other birds, and they were sitting around in the branches of the trees watching that star. As morning came, one by one, the animals left, going back into that valley. The hunter followed the animals down into the valley. And that day, that first Christmas in Missouri, there was peace in the valley.